Have you ever found yourself maybe staring at a credit card bill or, trying to figure out how to actually save for that big vacation and just felt completely overwhelmed? Like you somehow missed the one really crucial class back in school that seemed to teach everyone else how to navigate this whole, sometimes bewildering world of money.
Absolutely. It's a common feeling.
It really is, isn't it? And it highlights a pretty significant gap, I think, in our collective education.
Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're jumping into a deep dive. And the topic, well, it's way bigger than just balancing a checkbook, though, let's be clear. That skill still absolutely matters.
Oh, for sure. Foundation. Right. We're going to explore why teaching financial literacy from a young age, like a surprisingly early age, isn't just, a nice idea or merely beneficial. It's actually essential. Essential for shaping healthy, resilient, and frankly, lifelong money habits. So our mission today, we've dug deep into an article called Teaching Financial Literacy, Why You Need to Start from a Young Age, and its related series. We've sifted through all the research, the expert insights to bring you the really critical takeaways. Some might even be eye-opening. Our goal is simple. Equip you with compelling reasons and, practical strategies for fostering real financial intelligence in kids. Give them a tangible head start in what's, let's face it, a pretty complex economic landscape.
It really is.
We're talking the whole picture here. Earning, saving, investing, protecting your money, spending wisely, borrowing responsibly, and crucially, how to instill these ideas long before they even see their first credit card offer in the mail.
What's fascinating here, and it really highlights why this deep dive is so timely, is just how fundamental financial literacy truly is in today's world. It's changing so fast.
Right.
This isn't just about ticking off a list of skills, like calculating interest or reading a stock chart. It's deeply tied to how people navigate their entire lives.
How so?
Well, it influences everything. Their daily buying decisions, sure, but also their long-term well-being, their ability to maybe buy a home someday, fund retirement, or even get through college without totally crippling debt.
That's huge.
It is. Being able to manage money well, to understand its power, but also its pitfalls, it's really about life application. And in an economic landscape that often feels, more volatile, more digital, and maybe more confusing than ever, this early foundation, it's less of a nice to have and more of an absolute must have for getting by in modern life.
That really frames it powerfully, and it takes us straight into our first big, maybe even startling finding from the source material. It's about the profound impact, maybe one we underestimate, of starting financial education super early. And we're not just talking teenagers balancing a budget here, though that's important too.
Right.
The research is pretty clear on this, and for a lot of people, this is a real aha moment.
Yeah.
Kids can actually form persistent, ingrained money habits as young as age 5.
5, yeah?
Think about that. Age 5. When they're just mastering ABCs, maybe tying shoes, they're already starting to build these unconscious biases, these behaviors around money.
It's quite something.
This insight comes from a University of Michigan study, and it just dramatically shows how vital those very early years are for their future financial health.
It's
not just about what they know in their head, it's about what they do, how they feel about money, the patterns they start following. Really young.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder, if we miss that window, are we already playing catch up?
Absolutely. And the source really hammers home this behavioral part, which often gets missed when we talk financial ed. It's not just memorizing stuff.
Right. Not just facts and figures.
No. Brittany Griffin, she's the Policy and Communications Deputy at the Utah Office of State Treasurer. She puts it perfectly in the article. She says, and I'm quoting here, "It's one thing to know the skills, but it's also highly beneficial to start learning how to apply them to your everyday life."
Makes sense.
And she adds, "Money management is largely behavioral. It's kind of like anything with mathematics or reading. You progress as the years go on."
So it's like learning math or reading it builds over time.
Precisely. It's not a one-off lesson, check the box and you're done. It's this continuous progression. You don't learn calculus in one go and suddenly apply it everywhere, right?
Definitely not.
It needs constant practice, reinforcement, real-world use over time. Financial literacy is exactly the same. The earlier you start embedding these fundamental behaviors, not just the knowledge, but the habits of thinking and acting, the more naturally they just become part of how a child understands and operates as they grow up.
Like building a muscle.
Exactly like building a muscle, not just memorizing formulas.
And it's not just about what we actively teach them or what they pick up from us, is it? It's also about what they're constantly facing from the outside world.
Oh, absolutely.
Vince Shorb, he's the CEO of the National Financial Educators Council. He describes it in the article as kind of psychological warfare that kids deal with every single day.
It's a strong term, but yeah.
When you step back and think about it, it feels pretty accurate though, doesn't it? Kids are just swimming in messages designed to make them want stuff, to consume excessively.
Constantly.
You got toy ads everywhere, TV integrated into their apps, online games. Then there's the peer pressure, friends showing off the latest gadget or cool clothes.
Yep.
And of course, social media. The algorithms are pushing stuff constantly, often glamorizing this lifestyle of just endless buying.
They're very sophisticated, those platforms.
Incredibly. They're designed to make buying appealing, create desires instantly, and subtly, or sometimes not so subtly, push what the article calls a spendthrift attitude. This constant barrage, it works directly against developing what Shorb calls good stewards of money. It's a real uphill battle trying to teach saving or waiting for things or thoughtful spending when their whole digital world is basically screaming, buy it now, everyone else has it.
It really is, like little financial traps everywhere.
Little quicksand bits.
Exactly. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this constant pressure plus that early habit formation starting around age 5, it really explains why high school financial literacy classes, which are good, definitely a positive step, might not be enough on their own.
Right. The foundation's already shaky or built on something else.
Precisely. The article uses this fantastic analogy from Vince Shorb again. He says, try speaking a foreign language after one semester of anything.
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
It just highlights that basic truth. You can't expect habits formed over years, plus these powerful responses to constant buy now messages to just vanish after one class, often just a semester in high school. If kids are forming these money habits by age 5, and then they spend, 10, 12 years bombarded with messages contradicting good financial sense, a single high school class, no matter how good it is fighting against some really deep-seated stuff.
So the foundation, that scaffolding, needs to be built way, way earlier.
Way earlier. To really equip them to handle this complex, sometimes, frankly, predatory financial world with actual confidence.
That makes a ton of sense. It's about building not just early, but strong and lasting foundations.
But, as we went deeper, our deep dive also uncovered some really critical and honestly often kind of swept under the rug aspects of financial literacy.
Which are?
The systemic gaps, the inequalities that exist across different groups in the U.S. It's definitely not a level playing field out there.
No, it isn't.
The source material points out pretty clearly that you find these significant differences in financial literacy levels, depending on income, race, ethnicity, even gender.
Like the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, they did these quizzes on basic financial concepts, and the trend was clear. Americans with higher household incomes, they generally did noticeably better.
Right.
And that's not just random. It points to deeper systemic issues that go way beyond just how smart someone is or how hard they try.
This is such a crucial point to unpack because these gaps, they aren't accidental. They're not just about individual choices. They are deeply, deeply rooted in historical and ongoing systemic problems.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah. Research specifically shows that, on average, Black and Latino or Latina individuals tend to have lower levels of financial literacy compared to white individuals. And this difference is overwhelmingly tied to differing socioeconomic statuses, which are themselves the result of systemic barriers put in place over generations. The source is very direct here. It states that anti-minority and anti-Black policies in the U.S. have systemically led to a racial wealth gap.
Wow.
This isn't just something happening now. It's a heavy historical legacy. We're talking about generations of factors feeding into this. Things like major income inequality, right? That limits your ability to save and invest right off the bat.
Sure.
But crucially, also, historic discrimination in U.S. housing policy. Housing is like the main way most Americans build wealth.
Right, home ownership.
Exactly. And practices like redlining, where banks literally drew red lines on maps around minority neighborhoods and refused loans or insurance there, that systemically blocked entire generations from building wealth through real estate. For decades.
That's fundamentally unfair.
It is. And on top of that, you have persistent educational disparities that just make the problem worse. These things aren't separate. They all tangle together to create a financial starting line that's just inherently unequal for way too many people.
And that educational inequality piece, it's stark, and it starts really early too, right? Which just compounds everything. The source highlights that in the U.S., a kid's race or ethnicity and their family's income level, significantly predict whether they'll end up in a high poverty or high minority school.
Sadly, yes.
Specifically, Black and Hispanic students are statistically much more likely to attend these high poverty schools compared to white or Asian American students.
And that matters because
It's not just about the school environment itself, although that's part of it. It has this direct, measurable ripple effect on learning the basics, especially in core subjects. Research consistently shows that attending a high poverty school tends to lower math and reading scores for all students there, regardless of their background. And that effect is still relevant today. So if you're not getting that solid grounding in math and reading comprehension skills, you absolutely need to understand financial concepts later on, like interest rates, investment charts, loan agreements.
you're already at a disadvantage.
Exactly. It becomes this cycle that just keeps repeating itself generation after generation.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these educational gaps tied together with those historical policy decisions we talked about, they create and maintain these broader economic inequalities.
Right.
They set up this system where access to financial knowledge, and just as importantly, the ability to actually use it effectively, is limited for certain groups right from the start, which makes early, maybe more targeted intervention even more critical.
So it's not just about teaching everyone the same thing.
Probably not. And beyond income and race, the source also points out a noticeable gender gap in financial literacy.
Oh, interesting. Tell me about that.
Well, research generally shows that women tend to score lower on financial literacy tests than men, and they're less likely to answer those standard financial literacy questions correctly.
Huh. Any thoughts on why?
The source doesn't delve too deeply into the why for the gender gap specifically, but it highlights that the issue of literacy gaps is widespread. It's not just confined to one or two groups. It really underscores this need for more tailored, maybe more effective financial education strategies for different segments of the population.
So a one-size-fits-all approach just won't cut it.
Seems unlikely to fully address these deep, multifaceted gaps, which, raises that important question. How do we design programs that are actually sensitive to these existing differences and can genuinely bridge that knowledge divide?
That is a big question. And it's clear there's a lot of work needed, complex work, given these systemic issues. Oh, and just as a quick aside, a detail from the source. When researchers are measuring these literacy levels across big populations, they often use something called the Big Three, or sometimes the Big Five quiz.
Oh, right. Heard of that.
It's usually just 3 or maybe 5 questions testing really basic financial ideas, things like compound interest, inflation, maybe risk diversification.
Simple but revealing.
Exactly. Like a classic question might be something like, say you have $100 in a savings account earning 2% interest per year. After 5 years, would you have more than $102, exactly $102, or less than $102? It's their standardized way to try and get a handle on this complex thing called financial understanding across large groups.
Got it.
Okay, so we've painted a bit of a challenging picture maybe with the early habits and these systemic gaps, but let's pivot now. Let's move from the problem to the solution, because here's where it gets really interesting.
Good. Let's hear the upside.
The benefits of financial education, they're not just sort of vaguely good. They are undeniable, and they offer a really powerful, proven way to help close these exact wealth gaps we've been talking about, to empower people.
So it's a tool for change.
Absolutely. It's not just about improving individual situations. It's genuinely about fostering broader progress, societal progress, and building financial resilience for everyone. And check this out. There's this fantastic anecdote in the source about 2 kids, Stockton Carlson and Calvin Lambert. They were middle schoolers, Vista Heights Middle School in Utah.
Yeah.
Back in 2021, they were in this statewide stock market simulation game, which sounds like a cool way to learn anyway, right?
Definitely. Hands-on.
But they weren't just playing around. They noticed something really interesting happening online. Tons of chatter on social media, especially Reddit, about GameStop, GME.
The meme stock frenzy. I remember that.
Exactly. Right in the thick of it. So these 2 kids, being pretty tuned into the digital world, they decided to use their simulated money and jumped in. And they timed it perfectly.
No way.
Yes. They started with their pretend $100,000. In just 10 weeks, they grew it to over $171,500.
Wow. That's incredible.
It's a 71% return in like 2.5 months. They ended up winning first place statewide in the middle school division.
That's amazing. What did they say about it?
Calvin Lambert, one of the students, he told the contest organizers later, and this is a great quote, "We learned that social media, and Reddit in this case, can really have a big effect on things."
Understatement of the year, maybe.
Right. But the point isn't just about getting lucky with stocks. It's this brilliant example of hands-on, real-world learning that clearly made an impact. It shows they understood market dynamics, even really weird ones, driven by social media. That knowledge stuck.
That's a fantastic story, and it really highlights the engaging side of this. But yeah, the benefits go way beyond just understanding market craziness, as fun as that can be.
Right. What else did the source highlight?
Well, it dives into several really broad, very tangible advantages that come with good financial education. First, and this is probably the most basic, but maybe most important, is building good financial habits.
Okay. Like what?
Research from the FinNRA Investor Education Foundation, that's FINRA, consistently shows that people who score better on financial literacy tests, they're way more likely to do the right things financially.
Such as?
Like spending less than they earn, which sounds simple, but it's the absolute cornerstone of financial stability. They're also much more likely to have an emergency fund saved up. That crucial safety net, that stops a small problem from becoming a huge crisis.
Critical.
And they're more likely to have actual retirement accounts set up, actively planning for the future. The data also links higher financial literacy to better retirement planning overall, being less likely to borrow against their 401ks, which can be really damaging long-term, and being more likely to invest in the stock market.
Which you need for long-term growth.
Absolutely. Essential to beat inflation over time. So this isn't just knowing stuff. It's about doing stuff, beneficial behaviors that lead straight to real financial stability and growth, cultivating that responsible mindset early on.
Okay, that's a big one. What else?
Second, financial literacy acts like a shield, basically, helping people avoid debt traps.
Oh yeah, that's huge today.
It really is, especially with high-interest loans and predatory lending being so common. It's easy to get caught if you don't understand the terms.
So how does education help?
Well, there was a 2019 study from a University of Wisconsin-Madison researcher. It found that people who had more financial ed were significantly less likely to use those super high-interest payday loans.
The payday loan cycle. Vicious.
Exactly. They trap people. Also, FINRA found that financially literate folks are less likely to use pawn shop loans, another high-cost option. They're also less likely to just make minimum payments on credit cards.
Which costs a fortune in interest over time.
Precisely. And they're less likely to get hit with late fees, which are just wasted money, essentially. Another study, this one from Montana State University, found college students who had to take financial ed classes were more likely to use lower interest federal loans instead of private ones, and less likely to carry credit card balances after college.
So avoiding concrete, costly mistakes.
Yes, mistakes that can cost thousands and cause immense stress. Financial ed helps you sidestep those traps.
Makes sense. And the third benefit?
Third, it just leads to significantly better financial health overall in the long run.
How do we know that?
That same Montana State University study showed that high schoolers who were required to take personal finance classes, years later, they had lower rates of defaulting on debt and higher credit scores compared to students who didn't get that education.
So the effects last.
Yes.
Yeah.
It clearly shows, as an audit of Utah's own financial literacy program confirmed, that this knowledge genuinely sticks with students after graduation.
That's key. It's not just in one ear, out the other.
Right. And this lasting knowledge translates into better, more resilient financial habits down the line. Graduates from these programs were more likely to be able to handle a $1,000 emergency expense that's a standard measure of financial stability.
Okay.
They were also more likely to have invested in the stock market, harnessing that compounding growth. And crucially, less likely to be late on their bills, which avoids fees and keeps their credit healthy.
That all sounds incredibly positive.
It is, which, raises that really important question, maybe the million-dollar question. How do we actually cultivate this? How do we make sure this knowledge sticks and gets used long-term so people get these benefits for decades?
Indeed. That is the question, isn't it? How do we take all these compelling whys, why starting early matters, why the gaps exist, why the benefits are so clear, and turn them into practical, everyday how-tos for parents, guardians, educators?
Yeah, the actionable stuff.
Because that's what people need. Now, the source definitely acknowledges high school classes are valuable, but it really stresses starting much, much earlier. Karsten Walker, retired teacher, learning coordinator in Utah, helped set up their program. He put it simply, while high school is great for financial education, you do need to start earlier.
Makes sense given the age 5 habit formation.
Exactly. He even mentioned lots of his former students went into finance careers, suggesting early exposure can even spark that kind of interest. So what are these practical steps? How do we do it from a young age? Well, Vince Shorb from the National Financial Educators Council again, he offers some really specific, very actionable tips. And they're surprisingly straightforward, but potentially really effective. Not complex theories, just everyday things.
Okay, like what?
First, he says, explain what you're doing.
In terms of money.
Yeah. Actively involve kids in household finances. Turn everyday tasks into learning moments. Like when you're grocery shopping, talk about why you choose this brand over that one, or why you're buying this quantity.
Making choices visible.
Right. Or when you're paying bills online, walk them through it. Explain why this bill has to be paid now. It's not about stressing them out with adult money worries, but just demystifying it.
Taking away the mystery.
Yeah. Shorb even suggests letting kids listen in, maybe on speakerphone, when you talk to a banker or an accountant, if it's appropriate. So they hear the language, the concepts used in real life.
Interesting idea.
His reasoning is spot on, I think. He says, kids are sponges. They're smarter than we think. They're picking up things that we don't even understand.
So true. They absorb everything.
They really do. They see way more about our money habits and attitudes than we realize, even when we think they're not paying attention. Okay, second tip, and this one's a classic for a reason. Have children earn money with chores.
The allowance debate, sort of?
Kind of, but linking it directly to effort. It's foundational because it teaches that connection. Labor leads to income. Instead of just handing over money or toys freely, which can kind of create entitlement.
Right.
You set up this clear link.
Yeah.
You contribute to the house, you get a reward. When they earn it, they feel that connection between effort and getting paid.
Makes the value of a dollar real.
Exactly. And as they get older, the source suggests maybe having them contribute a tiny age-appropriate bit of their chore money towards a household bill, like electricity or water.
Oh, interesting. Why?
Teaches shared responsibility, the cost of living, contributing to the family. Makes abstract financial ideas much more concrete. It goes beyond just money for candy to money helps run our life together.
I like that. Okay, third tip.
Third, and this is really key for their future, get kids into career conversations related to their interests.
Career conversations. How does that fit?
Well, earning income is a huge part of financial health, right? And kids often think about careers based only on what they see every day. So teachers, doctors, maybe now YouTube stars or gamers.
Limited scope.
Right. Shorb suggests we help them broaden that understanding, encourage them to talk to people doing all sorts of different jobs, especially jobs linked to things they're already interested in.
How would that work?
The source gives this great example. Say a kid loves BMX biking. The parent could take them to a competition and maybe ask a vendor there or even a pro rider if they'd mind explaining to the kid what they do, how they make a living from it.
Connecting passion to profession.
Exactly. The article notes most people are actually happy to chat with curious kids. It just widens their horizons about all the ways people earn money. Vital for future planning, goal setting, career ideas. It shows how their passions could actually become income.
That's really smart. Okay, and the fourth tip.
Fourth, set aside time to teach the fundamentals explicitly.
So actual lessons.
Yeah, actively sit down and teach basic concepts. But, and this is critical, always make sure it's age appropriate.
Right. Can't teach calculus to a kindergartner.
Exactly. The article uses the example of FICO scores. Way too complex for a 4-year-old. Their brain just isn't ready.
Obviously.
But a 4-year-old can totally understand borrowing and returning. Start with sharing toys. Then maybe graduate to borrowing a tiny bit of money for a treat with a clear expectation they pay it back from allowance. Or maybe they borrow screen time and pay it back with chores.
Matching the concept to their developmental stage.
Precisely. Build understanding bit by bit. Plant those seeds that will grow as they grow.
Those are great practical tips, and they seem to align really well with the broader principles of what financial literacy actually is. The source outlines 5 key principles, right?
Yes, the 5 principles. Can you break those down?
Sure. They provide a really solid framework for what we should be aiming to teach over time. They are earn, save and invest, protect, spend, and borrow.
Okay.
So earn is basically understanding how you get income, job, business, allowance, gifts, whatever. It includes understanding paychecks, maybe benefits later on, taxes, the value of your work. Knowing money comes from somewhere through effort or value.
Makes sense. Next.
Save and invest. This covers budgeting, setting goals, and actually putting money aside regularly. And it's not just the piggy bank, it's understanding compounding interest, the difference between short-term saving, like for a toy, and long-term investing, like for college, making your money grow over time.
Crucial distinction.
Okay. Protect. This is all about safeguarding your money and assets. So building that emergency fund we talked about, understanding basics of insurance, health, car, home recognizing scams, protecting your personal info to avoid identity theft, building a little financial fortress.
Good analogy. What about spending?
That's the fourth one, spend. Learning to spend wisely, make informed choices. This is where you teach needs versus wants. Budgeting again, comparing prices, understanding value, avoiding impulse buys. Basically, conscious consumption that aligns with your goals.
Not just reacting to ads.
Exactly. And finally, borrow. Understanding responsible borrowing and managing debt. Learning about loans, interest rates, credit scores, why it's important to repay on time. Knowing that credit can be a useful tool, but also a heavy burden if mishandled.
Got it.
So those 5, earn, save, invest, protect, spend, borrow, they cover the whole life cycle, really. A complete guide for what a financially literate person needs to know and do from childhood right through adulthood.
That's a really helpful framework. So we have the principles, we have Shorb's practical tips, but the source also mentioned what's really the best way to teach all this.
Right.
And it seems the answer is there isn't one best way.
Pretty much. The source makes it really clear. It's all about engagement, adapting to the kid, making it personal, not a one-size-fits-all magic bullet.
Because kids learn differently.
Totally. What clicks for one might completely miss the mark for another. So the key is figuring out how that specific child learns best. Are they visual? Do they need to do things hands-on? Do they like talking things through?
And then tailor the approach.
Exactly. Develop a method that actually connects with them. The article gives some good examples. Maybe it's playing board games like Monopoly teaches property, rent, investment strategy without feeling like a lesson.
Huh. Yeah, Monopoly teaches ruthless capitalism too.
Well, there is that. Or it could be just having open, honest talks about money, about family finances, the choices you make. Or using practical tools like giving a regular allowance that the kids actually manage themselves, deciding how much to save, spend, maybe even give away within certain rules.
Empowering them.
Right. The goal, no matter the method, is to make learning about money active, engaging, personal. Something that builds their confidence and skills, not just another boring lecture they tune out.
So, pulling this all together, what does this mean for you listening right now as you handle your own finances or maybe guide kids? We've covered a lot today.
We really have.
We started with that surprising, maybe game-changing fact.
Yeah.
Money habits start forming as young as age 5, which just shouts how important early intervention is.
Absolutely critical window.
Then we dug into those tough systemic gaps in income, race, gender driven by history and policy, making financial literacy unequal from the start.
Important context.
Then we shifted to the really positive side. The clear, tangible benefits of financial education. Building good habits, avoiding those costly debt traps, achieving better financial health overall. We heard the GameStop kids story, saw the study results.
Proofs that it works.
Exactly. And finally, we got practical. Actionable steps from Vince Shorb, the 5 core principles, and the idea that teaching this stuff is about engaging kids personally, starting early and consistently, not just a single class late in the game.
And the core message, really, the main takeaway from this deep dive, it's that instilling these healthy financial habits, this basic understanding of money from a very young age, it's not just nice, it is absolutely crucial. It empowers kids to make sound choices their whole lives.
Yeah.
But it's an ongoing thing, right? A process. It needs constant guidance, patience, tweaking the approach as they grow and face more complex money situations. It's a journey, not a destination you just arrive at.
Well said. A lifelong journey. And on that note, here's a final thought, maybe something provocative for you to chew on this week.
Yeah.
How could you apply just one of these early financial literacy ideas, even a small thing, an age-appropriate chat about money, maybe explaining why you chose the store brand cereal this week, or directly linking doing the dishes to earning $1? How could that tiny interaction done consistently impact a child's understanding their habits for years, decades to come?
Yeah.
How might that small early effort potentially head off a future financial problem, close a potential gap before it even gets a chance to start? Think about that ripple effect.